All right, let's just jump right into this. You've seen them, right? Those absolutely unbelievable real estate listings for like $1 or maybe 500 bucks. And you always think, is this a dream? Is it a scam? Or is it just a complete disaster waiting to happen? Well, today, we're going to dig into that viral idea of buying an impossibly cheap house and see if it's a golden opportunity or just a giant money pit.
I mean, think about it. The whole premise is kind of wild, isn't it? Can you really, truly buy a house for less than what you'd pay for a new laptop or a gaming PC? Someone actually went out and did it just to see what would happen.
$7,500. That's it. That was the actual price they paid for a real, legally sellable house. A number so low it could be, and actually was, put on a credit card. Now, that's a shocking figure for sure, but as you're about to see, that number is just the very, very tip of the iceberg.
So where do you even begin to find a deal like this? Well, the search started with those famous $1 homes you sometimes hear about, in cities that are trying to bring in new people. But yeah, it turns out there's a pretty huge catch.
See, this is the main reason most of us can't just go out and snag a $1 house. They usually come with some massive strings attached. We're talking legally binding contracts that say you have to invest hundreds of thousands in renovations, or they're sold in these huge bundles to professional developers, not to an average person looking for a project.
So, after digging a lot deeper into some of those forgotten corners of the Midwest, the search finally uncovered this place. This one seemed to be the real deal. A standalone house, still standing, that anyone could legally buy for a price that just seems made up. Okay, so what does $7.5 grand actually buy you in the real world? Well, the second that front door creaks open, the full picture starts to come into focus. And let me tell you, it's a mix of the good, the bad, and the very ugly.
Surprisingly, there was some good news right off the bat. The house had what people in the business call good bones. The roof was, for the most part, intact. The four walls were still standing strong, and the foundation wasn't a total disaster. And get this, underneath years of filth and debris, there were original hardwood floors. The core of the house, it was salvageable.
But then came the bad. And oh, it was bad. No water, no gas, no electricity. And it had been that way for years. Every single surface, from the floors to the ceiling, had to be completely stripped down. And yep, there were critters living inside, along with a smell that, well, it told a long, sad story of serious neglect.
But the real uh-oh moment was in the back of the house. A whole room, an addition, had collapsed and was basically just returning to the earth. This wasn't a cosmetic fix anymore. This was a massive structural problem. And that's the moment that tiny little price tag just explodes into a gigantic project budget.
And that brings us to the real math of it all. Because that purchase price is super exciting, right? But honestly, it's almost irrelevant once you start adding up what it actually costs to make the place, livable. All right, let's really break these numbers down. On top of that initial $7,500, you've got to add over $1,000 in closing costs. Now, the property taxes were shockingly low, so that's a small win. But, and this is the big one, here's the real killer, the renovation budget. The estimates were coming in somewhere between $45,000 and a jaw-dropping $80,000.
And just like that, the cheapest house in America morphs into a project with a total price tag that could easily approach $90,000. It stops being a fun, cheap experiment and turns into a very significant financial project that needs a serious, serious plan.
So, when all is said and done, what did you actually buy? Is this a brilliant investment, a path to a debt-free home, or is it just a clever trap designed for dreamers? The verdict, when you look at it, is pretty clear. You're not really buying a house. You are buying a project. It's a full-time job, it's a huge financial bet, and it's a giant, complicated puzzle that you and only you have to solve. And pulling off a project like this, it's not just about having the money. It really requires a very specific set of skills and resources. You need serious DIY abilities, an incredible amount of patience, a lot of free time, and, this one might be the most important, a local contractor that you can actually genuinely trust.
Honestly, an experience like this completely changes the definition of homeowner. You're not just a homeowner. You have to be a project manager, a detective trying to figure out where on earth does this wire go, or what is that smell? You're forced to wear like a dozen different hats at once.
But if you look past all the dirt and the challenges, on a much deeper level, these listings represent something more. They aren't just broken down houses for sale. They're opportunities. They're a chance for artists or remote workers or anyone just looking for a radical life change to build something from the ground up. And they also represent entire towns that are just crying out for new people and new investment.
So in the end, this whole journey, from a crazy online ad to a real-world muddy construction site, it leaves us with a really fascinating question. Are these super cheap houses a genuine second chance for forgotten communities and adventurous people? Or are they ultimately just a dangerous trap for well-intentioned dreamers?